Welcome to Carver Conversations. I'm your host, Tiff Marchand from Night Carver Designs, and this is a Saburrtooth podcast, and I couldn't be more excited to be here. Head on over to saburrtooth.com and sign up for their mailing list. They send out a coupon once a month for 25% off. You have 24 hours to use it, so you're not going to want to miss out on that chance. You can use our show code to save 10% off. The code is EM2CO. Head on over, sign up for the mailing list, and if you want to buy them now, EM2CO at checkout. Make sure to have that all in caps, and on to the show. All right, today on the show we have Danny Kissel, who was an absolute treat to hang out with. It is a very, 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 very rare thing that I get to hang out with somebody who is into horror movies and into like the whole Halloween culture as much as Danny was. So you're gonna really enjoy getting to know him, his passion for Halloween, but also for any kind of holiday, really. He really is a seasonal carver, a master of many techniques, and he sells his own tools, which is really cool for anybody who is doing like pumpkin carving. So check Danny out. He's a great guy. He is a showman, as you're going to hear, and I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review or comment. Thank you.
Hello. Oh, dope background. Nice.
I am the pumpkin guy, so I have to,
I mean, you got to show up, right? If you're going to be calling yourself the pumpkin guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. Good branding. And I like those a lot too. Have you seen the people that like paint shoes now? Like just like that's like a whole thing now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I had actually painted them. I had an old pair that's shot. It was on the second season of Halloween Wars.
Yep.
That I did. The second season it was. And then the Outrageous Pumpkins when I won. But by the time we were done with pumpkin season, they were shot. The sole was wore out. The sides were starting to crack. So I made new ones.
You got to. That's
I had to match, that.
Yeah. And do you sell, I'm not to jump right in, but if you want, we can. But I was doing some light stocking of you. Are other tools that are on your website? Are those things that you're selling personally?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the ones that you get at stores, they have wooden handles. They're great to use for clay and that kind of stuff. But once you're doing them on pumpkins and they spend a season, maybe 2 or 3 seasons wet, the wood swells and expands and the tools fall out. So people will pin them and they'll screw them and they'll wrap wire around them and glue them and whatever. So I take a cheap screwdriver, heat up the screwdriver, pull it out, and put my own custom shaped tool in it, and then sell those.
So smart.
But they're mostly for people that are professionals like myself that do hundreds of pounds of pumpkins a year. It's not for your average guy that does one down the road.
Yeah. Well, what triggered that question was because when you leaned to the side, I saw the tool in the pumpkin's hand and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And my logo, I had posted on Facebook years ago. I had a typical jack-o'-lantern and I had one that was more realistic, like a skull. And so which one of these logos do people like? And they were weighing back and forth. And in the middle of that, I thought, well, it'd be kind of cool to combine them. And a friend of mine said, well, did you ever think about that? And I said, yeah, it's actually what I'm working on now. So this was the brainchild of that. And then the wings came later because, well, bat wings are cool.
I agree.
But I have a whole setup in here. I have.
Yeah, I was like, show it off. Oh, this is dope.
All the stuff up here is butternut squash. And it's actually, we'll see what it looks like here real quick.
What are you encasing it in to keep it? Oh, that's cool.
So they all light up and look cool there. But they're actually in vinegar water. So they've been up there. There's an alien over here behind Michael Myers. You can't really see that well. That's about 9 years old.
It looks like it's held together just fine.
And it is. It's I kind of pickled them, so that's what I was going for. But now I got a whole room of just weird collectible stuff that I've made and built. And Trick or Treat Sam's up at the very top.
The best.
Right about
there he is. Yeah, I see him.
That's my favorite horror movie. And then there's a Freddy hand up there and a foam pumpkin up there in the corner that's actually cast in foam.
Okay, you and I have very similar taste. I have most of my art on the other side of this room, but in the back you can see some of the wood carvings, and like I carved the pumpkin from Halloween and like all kinds of different things. So it's yeah, very, very similar taste, it seems.
Well, if you look real closely, right there behind my Pepsi Mountain Dew machine is all my horror themed Easter eggs.
That's cool. Okay, I was wondering what
So
that was up there.
at the top of it, you can see the big one, like your Big Ten, I'll call them. So you got Jigsaw's up there, of course, Freddy and Pinhead and all them, and Ghostface and Chucky, of course. Hannibal Lecter's there in the end.
Yep.
And then the second row is all clowns that are evil in movies, and then it just slowly comes down, and
I'll have to
you can
send
barely
you
see it right there in the
photos.
middle. Scooby Doo's in the middle of it. He's kind of keeping them all at bay.
He's keeping them under control.
Yeah, and then down at the very bottom, I have Star Trek or Star Wars because I'm a geek too.
Nothing wrong with that at all. I'll have to send you some photos of my office because it's all like Adam's family and things like that. Chucky. I have 2 Chucky carvings hanging out in my office. So
I want to get an actual Chucky
not?
doll at some point and make him look like around Chucky 3, Chucky 4 when he has his eye blown out,
That's the sake.
stitches, and his hair's
Yeah.
messed up.
Yep.
That's the Chucky version I like.
Oh yeah, he's got to have a little bit of wear and tear. You can't have that angelic face. No, it needs to be
No, not at all.
demonized.
And the new Chucky series on TV was awesome.
Yes, it was. It was really good. It was good. I was going to say, I mean, you can look at my logo. It's a gravestone. So I'm with you. It's rare that I get to like stumble upon somebody with the same interest.
That is cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I have an iPad that I take along with me to events that are in the evenings, and it's encased in a Jack Skellington tombstone that I made out of Pao Tai, I think it's called. It's kind of a concrete based. It's almost like a clay, but you put it on little pieces, and then it hardens like concrete. So it's about a 1/4 inch thick over foam, but it's Jack sitting on a tombstone, and then the iPad's in the middle of the tombstone, and it just scrolls through my photos.
That's cool. All right. That's really cool. Jody was right. She's, oh, by the way, Jody says hello. I just want to say that, get that out of the way.
Hello, Jody.
Right? I was talking to her this morning. She's like, oh, yeah, I gotta make sure you say hello.
She actually had me do foam pumpkins for Saburrtooth to advertise some of the 1/8 inch shank bits they have. So I had done some foam pumpkins. So I made a clock and then did this all with the Saburrtooth tools and put little weird symbols the way around it. And I have where my wall is now, I'm getting ready to redo my room along with all the basement and everything else I have going on. I want to put a light behind it. So when you come in the room, you flip the light on and it'll actually glow as well.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. Jody was telling me you were doing some home renovations right now.
A lot of it. The basement's destroyed. The room here is getting completely redone, but it's going to be last. So everything in the basement was a new ceiling, a new floor. I just built a garage. I built a mud room, and it turned into this giant project that's been going on now for almost a year.
But it's like feeling good, I assume, as you're seeing all this old stuff come out and it's opening up. I know how much work
it is getting cool.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like once you start like seeing it come together, then it's like, okay, it was worth it. It was worth it. It was worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now we've been tracking drywall dust through the house for about 2 months now, and I'm getting ready to knock this wall down here beside me and take it out, and the room's going to get about 4 feet bigger, so it'll be around 12 by 16, 12 by 17.
Nice.
My pumpkins are getting bigger, so my room has to get bigger.
As I say, you do everything in this room, right? Like besides...
I do all the pumpkins in here. Any of the foam sculpting happens in here. Clay sculpting happens in here. The designs for ice, the designs for pumpkin, the designs for wood, that all takes place here. I have a PlayStation 4 up there too, so there's gaming happens in here as well.
It's a hangout.
I try to keep everything contained to a room so I don't destroy everything in the house.
It's smart. Yeah, yeah.
Pumpkin goes everywhere.
I can't imagine. What did you start with? Was it pumpkin or was it clay or something like that?
It was actually funny. When I got out of high school, I've been an artist forever. I did a little bit of graffiti and got in trouble for some of it. And
now it's
some
cool.
other people still don't know I did, but right out of high school, I got into glass etching. I was at a car show and there was a woman there. She drew a picture. She put it up on the inside of a window. She drew little roses with a grinder and a little Dremel tool. And there was a rose done, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I saw the amount of money a guy handed her, and it's like, oh, I'm going to go and buy that.
Right.
So I bought a tool and learned to do it. From there, 5 or 6 years I did that. I did the Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell album on the entire back window of a Corvette. Took me like 2 weeks to do it. It was really cool when it was done, but I thought, well, there's nowhere to go from here.
Right.
So I kind of looked for other things, and I got into airbrushing, which is how that happened.
Yep.
I professionally airbrushed for 15 years, maybe 16 years. Cars, motorcycles, T-shirts, license plates. If it sat still, it was getting some paint put on it. So
the hats, yeah.
Exactly. I did rugs for like kids' rooms.
Yeah.
Our baby room had a couple stains on the floor, and I wanted to redo it. And at the time, it's like, I don't have time to redo it. So I airbrushed crayons on the carpet in the baby room. And they were Crayola crayons, and it was cool looking, but it hid all the stains.
Did it last well?
It wore out and it faded, but it didn't really disappear. It was always there.
That's cool.
So I went back and I retouched it up one time whenever our son went from a little bed to a big kid bed.
Mm-hmm.
And
hey,
then
it's a good way to save money and make something cool happen.
It was just funny. It's like, it was a late night thing. I had painted his walls. His walls at the time when he was little had cow jumping over the moon. Our younger son had a scene in there whenever he was a baby. Our oldest son had a scene in there when he was a baby. And then when we moved him into, his kid room, it was all cartoons he was fans of. So I made a movie tape kind of flow the whole way around the room, and then put each one of his characters that he liked in that tape. And the whole room was airbrushed. And then our oldest son had fire, and he had Looney Tunes on the wall and all that. But it got to the point where paint was getting a little more complicated. It was a lot more not user-friendly, if you will. When you go into the garage, any little dust would get in it, bugs would get in it, it would ruin the clear. There was a lot of rework. It was just getting to the point where
it wasn't working for your life.
Exactly. I couldn't hang out with my kids. I was always at fairs airbrushing. So I wrapped it up. There was 4 or 5 years in there. I didn't really do anything. Played with the kids and coached soccer and hung out and that kind of stuff. And then we saw Outrageous Pumpkins on the Food Network. Mm-hmm. And it was around 2009, maybe 10, somewhere around there. And it played Halloween Day. Of course, I love Halloween. So we were watching it, and it's like, I'm going to get some pumpkins next year. Well, the following year, they changed it to Halloween Wars. And it was teams of 3. You had a cake artist, a candy person, and a pumpkin carver. Mm-hmm. And I laughed, and I bought a couple of pumpkins and said, yeah, I'm going to try and be on that show. And both my kids were little. They're like, yeah, Dad, you go ahead, give out a shot. And it was
such
4 years
supportive
later.
Family members.
It was 4 years later when I got the call that I was going to be on season 4 of Halloween Wars, and I was blown away. It was wild. I flew to Hollywood for the first time. Second round, we got our butt kicked, got sent home, called the kids today. Well, at least I made it.
Right.
It was 4 or 5 years later, I was invited back to do Halloween Wars Hayride of Horror, which was an outdoor show. And they made me team captain of 3 pumpkin carvers, a cake artist, a candy artist. And we filmed it outside. We built displays that were probably 12, maybe 14 foot round with giant 1,000-pound pumpkins in the middle and just all kinds of stuff.
I remember it. I've watched all of these. I was
we
the
end up
same
winning
way.
that
Like,
one.
I could do that.
That's how it started, right there.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah. Yep.
And then 2 years ago, I was invited to Outrageous Pumpkins, the reboot, where they were doing a 4-part series. And after, I think we shot for 11 days, I was crowned the champion. I got this.
I saw the photos. Yes.
Along with $25,000.
Hey, that's great. Give me that belt.
We were, the guys that were there, Dave's a real good friend of mine. He's an ice carver, pumpkin carver, wood carver like I am. And he was standing there like 2 people down from me. And as soon as we saw there was a title belt, we kind of like, look at that, there's a title belt. And we giggled and I won, and he keeps laughing, saying he's going to steal it from me at some point. So
I was going to say, that's like something fun. It's like childhood when you can win a belt like that. You know what I mean? Like the champion.
And that's what it was. It was. So I dubbed myself the Pumpkin King, and we're just rolling with that.
That's cool. And have you been like full-time artist pretty much your whole life, or were you working different jobs throughout that?
I worked as an electronics guy for a while. I was mechanic, construction, a little bit of everything, which I still do construction. That's why I'm doing all of this.
Yeah.
That's what, gets me through the day. And then evenings is all artwork. It was around the same time I started Pumpkins. We were on a family trip to Tennessee. Dad saw the wood sculptures and said, hey, why don't you learn how to do that so you can make me a bunch of stuff? And we laughed and I said, whatever. So I borrowed, it was 2012. I borrowed his chainsaw. I had not run a chainsaw to do anything other than a couple of tree branches here and there.
Yep.
So it was a learning curve. I watched some YouTube videos, and it just so happened Saw Dogs was on television with Ryan Cook, Carver. I forget what it was. It was Stacy Poitras out in California. I think it was Chainsaw Gang or something. And then Jesse Green had American Chainsaw. So it was all kind of around that same time frame. But what was funny is in those couple years, there was a Sandmaster television show on.
Yes, that was so good. Yeah.
And then there was an ice carving show with Ice Brigade. And then there was one that showcased the artwork that was done in Alaska. So that all hit at the time I was looking for something new. And I just jumped from field to field. It was, a lot of it just happened by luck. I was invited through a pumpkin carving friend, Dean Murray invited me to Michigan to be on his team for doing ice sculpture. And that was the first time I'd ever stuck 2 blocks of ice together. And we ended up taking third, I think. So it was my first competition. I did good.
Yeah.
I was happy with it anyway. It was something new.
Third is
but
great.
The guys all said, hey, learn some ice and come carve with us. And then ice and wood were closely related. A lot of the tools were the same. I started with Saburrtooth on all of them. I got, I think, the 4-inch grinder and then the 4-inch cylinder. And that's what I started with. And then just built a whole arsenal of their tools.
Yeah, you kind of do that, don't you? He's like, they're so addicting. But like each one does something different. So you need it, right?
Exactly. When you go to a show, I have 35 of them with me and I use 2 because I'm in a hurry and I'm running late. And
yeah.
Like this one will do, just kind of.
Who has time to change a bit? That's got to be a challenge though, like when you're doing a competition like that, because time is of the essence, right? Like that's the thing that's pushing you constantly.
And that's exactly it. And you're looking at the guy beside you and you're seeing how big he's going. So you're changing your design a little bit to go a little bit bigger. And you're using the tools and pushing them as hard as you can possibly push them to, do it. And then you always still try to get photos for social media to show people, hey, look, and nothing's cooler than a big rooster tail of snow coming off of one of the sabers. And so you always got to get that photo too. But I started doing an event in a local town in West Reading called the Ice and Spice. So it's a lot of bars, a lot of taverns and restaurants that do spicy food for the winter time. And then the ice is on display on the streets. Everything inside is warm.
That's really
last
cool.
year, and it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Last year, myself and Dave did 37 sculptures in 3 days. So a lot of it was just, you have to hurry up and do one, you go do another one, you go do another one.
Yeah.
So I may have 20 bits with me, but I really only get a chance to use 1 or 2 because I have roughly an hour to maybe 45 minutes an hour to knock one of these out so I can walk 10 minutes down the street and do another one.
What's your go-to? Do you have like a go-to bit?
The one I use the most is the little flame bit. It's 1/4-inch shank and it's the flame. I can use the point to do some little detail work, and then I can kind of use it on the side to do like a channel.
Yeah, tapers. It's nice.
But the 4-inch is on. I have a die grinder set up with 4-inch only, and then the 4-inch donut with the holes in it is the one I use for planing the surfaces down, making everything.
That's my
smooth.
go-to as well. I like that one.
And they're really, really handy. They just chew through the ice and the snow, and just it goes.
I was looking at like the pictures, how you had on your website, you have all of the different carvings that you do. And I'm like, wow, each one of those is a very distinct type of weather that you're going to be doing that carving in. Do you have a favorite to be in? Like, what do you look forward to something? Yeah.
I look forward to the pumpkins all year long, and my wife and myself carry on that Halloween never really leaves our house. I have a Beetlejuice sign around the corner. I got a It's Showtime rug when you come in the room. So I enjoy the pumpkins the most, which they're relaxing. There's not a lot of power tools in it. Occasionally I will just, put on the show, but for the most part, it's clay ribbon tools. But ice is the next thing I love. I'm not a big person dealing with the sun and the heat. I get sunburned really fast.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, oof.
Last 3 days, I was doing a wood carving event and I'm sunburnt already.
Yeah.
Underneath the tent in the shade, still got sunburnt. So
Yeah.
I prefer the ice over the wood. And I didn't in the beginning. I like the wood. I like the longevity of the wood because once it was done, it was done.
Yeah, it's something that you could admire forever. And yeah.
But it seems like when you do the ice, more people are excited about the ice because it's something they've never seen. People have seen one, maybe two wood carvings, or they've been past somewhere that somebody was doing some kind of woodworking.
Yeah.
But ice is still something that's fairly new to a lot of areas. I was at a reindeer
Our
farm in
downtown
Kentucky.
started doing it too recently.
It's great for bringing people in the wintertime, and that's the boost of it.
Yeah, you're right. Get them out on the streets.
But I was at a reindeer farm in Kentucky, and the people there had never seen ice carvings. They saw them on television, so everybody was just blown away at the display that was done. And it was 75 degrees the first week of December, and it was a lot of water blowing off. There wasn't a lot of snow happening.
I was gonna say that had to be difficult. Yeah, that was literally the first thing that crossed my mind when I was looking at your websites, like the weather for each one of those events, like the sand castles and all that. Like when that Sandmaster show was on, I was like, that looks like so much fun, but I would need somebody always having a tent over me to be out there protecting me from the elements because like I don't last long.
And I wear a t-shirt all the time because, well, I'm a big guy first off, so nobody really wants to see me without a shirt on. But when I'm on the beach, I'm bent over the entire time and working on the sand, and my back is cherry red, so it doesn't matter how much sunscreen you put on.
No, I'd be like the big old hat, long sleeve shirt, just gotta keep protected because no way.
Well, when I first started doing sand, I thought this would be great. I'll get to be on the beach. I'll get to, hang out, watch by the ocean, see the waves. And no, I'm at shopping malls and visitor centers and the middle of Ohio, I'm going to Denver this year.
Because they're doing sand installations at places. Is that what you mean? Like you're not actually at the beach. They're like bringing the sand there and then you're sculpting on location.
Yeah. Each one of the sculptures is around 6 to 7 tons of sand, roughly 6 feet wide, 6 feet high. And it's pyramid shaped. So it gets very skinny at the top and it tapers down to about 2 feet at the base. And then there's probably 8 to 10 inches of sand as your pack sand in the base, like your sandbox.
Yep.
But it's cool. You're sitting there in your shorts and t-shirts, and I'm in my bare feet, and I'm getting paid to sculpt sand in front of the shopping mall.
No, it sounds amazing no matter what, but I totally get what you mean. Like thinking that you were going to be able to hear the waves just crashing down as you're sculpting. No.
No, you hear a lot of horns blowing at people at the intersection that are staring at you, and the next guy isn't. And yeah,
that's cool. I would be down for traveling around and sculpting. That's pretty cool.
It's like I said, I've been very, very fortunate, and it's unbelievable the path that I've been on because of the people I've met. Culinary students, most of them became ice carvers at some point in their culinary school, and then some of those left culinary school to become full-time ice carvers. Since the culinary with the pumpkins and everything kind of goes hand in hand, that's who I started to meet, and I met the ice carvers, and it's all kind of subtractive medium, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So you start with your solid block, you start with your giant pile of sand, your pumpkin, whatever, and you start adding pieces, taking pieces off. So they're very closely related. Now, I've been using a lot of the same clay tools for pumpkins on sand, and it seems like that's working, but I usually only use maybe half a dozen tools on sand. I don't have a lot. It seems like one tool kind of does everything.
I would say you just kind of need something to take away, right? Something smooth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I did dabble in snow this past year, so I might try to get into a little bit more snow sculpting over the winter next year between ice events.
I was hoping for a good snow this year to do that. I've always wanted to do something like my front yard, just make just something for people to look at as they drive by and just enjoy. And I figured the kids would like it too. And why not,
Usually after I'm done snow blowing the driveway, our driveway is 300 feet. So I'm done doing the snow driveway, and I've been on an ice event, and it's usually, I'm just like, I'd really like to go outside, but it ain't going to happen. But this year I actually tried to go out and focus on it a little bit and build a little sculpture. A few years ago, built a Scooby-Doo out of snow. I packed it up the same way I did sand, which I didn't know the logistics behind it. I just thought, you stack it up, make it hard, and carve it.
That's what I would
That's
do.
not necessarily the case. You can stack it up, pack it in there, and you let it, they call it, I think it's called smelting. And if there's any snow carvers watching, Tell
Let
me
them
if I'm wrong.
comment. Yeah, it's a comment. Tell us, because I'm
I think they call it
curious.
smelting, where the snow and the ice kind of melt together and it kind of settles into locations. And then you peel the forms off and you start carving.
That's cool. We should do videos. We need videos of these. If you want to send Saburrtooth some videos, I'm sure they would love to have that up and just showcase that. Because, like,
Well, the bad thing with doing snow at competitions, most of it's non-power tools.
yeah,
So there's no chainsaws, there's no Dremels, there's no die grinders, there's no sabers, nothing. Hand chisels and a rope with some nuts on it that you're cutting big blocks of snow off.
oh wow. Why is that? Like, they just don't want the noise, or they just want to see it hand
I
carved?
have no idea. I couldn't even
Yeah.
guess. Like I said, I'm fairly new to this. If
Yeah.
I'm doing snow in the yard, I'm using every power tool I have.
Oh my God, why not?
But if I'm doing it at one of these events and they're like, hey, it's strictly no tool or no power tools, it's different. But to cut the big blocks of snow off, they have a steel cable with like 7/16 nuts just kind of pinched on it and then sharpened. And then there's other ones that float between it. You literally put a handle on one end and the other end, and two guys pull it back and forth like they're sawing a tree in, the 1800s. And that's what it looks like. And a big block of snow falls off.
So it's a two person then ordeal.
Anytime it gets big, it's at least two people.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a go-to teammate, or do you just kind of work with whoever's available that had like a group of friends?
Now, I just had a friend that was local here, and we tried it out in the yard, just messing around and seeing what it is, and tried to do a little bit bigger things, but snow didn't come that much this year. I think we got one snowstorm that was 6 or 7 inches, and it was pretty much, that was it. I think we had a 2-incher and then nothing. And then actually really funny, Sunday of Easter, it was 65 degrees in Pennsylvania. Monday, we had 4 inches of snow.
Sounds about right. Weather is kind of crazy anywhere and everywhere now. It's kind of crazy. So you took advantage of that snow then, I hope.
I would have liked to have gone out and played in it, but no, I was sitting inside. I was tired. I just come off of ice season. I was burnt out. It's like, I do an Easter egg hunt. I had about 100 hours in coloring Easter eggs. We do, generally speaking, 15, 20 Easter eggs. And then I have a couple bunnies that help me hide them. We hide them in, I think they were in 11 towns this year. And the Saturday before Easter at 9 o'clock in the morning, I post on my Facebook page, my Instagram, everything I have. This is the locations of the eggs. And what you see is like a playground or a park or a fairgrounds. Somewhere in that photo is one of these eggs. Now, this is our 5th year doing it. The first couple of years, I did 2, maybe 5, 6, 7, something like that. 3 years ago, people started staging in areas where they thought they may be. Like they would go to a park near me, or they would go here, and they're just going to wait, and they're going to sit in their car with the engine running at 9 o'clock in the morning. At 9 o'clock in the morning, when I post the pictures, they take off straight to the park and try to get them. The first egg this year was found in 7 minutes, I think, from the time I posted it. And then I have to tell people they're posted or that somebody found that one. So I have my laptop and 2 iPads set up, my phone set up, and answering everything I can answer. And people were like, hey, I'm at this park. Is it found yet? And I said, no, it's still there. Keep looking. And then somebody finds it. So I post a picture and tell everybody, but look in there, go to another location. There was 19 eggs hid locally last year. And then, 2 weeks ago. And then 4 hid in Grand Junction, Colorado. I went out for a pumpkin event with my friend Willie, and he has a giant following in Grand Junction. It's a small town like I live in. And he had a giant following of people that knew he was on the show. And I was the guy that beat him. So they knew who I was. And we went to a mall and we signed autographs and we laughed and carried on. I thought, well, there's a lot of people out there who know who I am. So let's take some eggs out there.
Yeah.
So they got Foghorn, the dog that's in the show, the chicken hawk, and I forget her name all of a sudden, the little girl in the blue bonnet that was chasing after him all the time.
I have no idea.
I'm drawing a blank on her name.
I can't help you, but that's cool though that you were able to have 4 in a completely different location to add to the fun.
I keep carrying on, and I said I would like to be able to take this, nationally, but I can't do it myself. I'm hoping that other artists jump on this and they're like, hey, this is kind of fun. Let's hide some Easter eggs. And the next thing you know, everybody has, if every artist is hiding 3 or 4 eggs, it would just be kind of cool to have something going on across the nation that the day before Easter, adults are looking for Easter eggs.
Well, you should definitely, if you want to do it for next year, just tag Saburrtooth in it, and I'll make sure to share it to the social media page and stuff, because I'm the one running it right now. So yeah, we got a lot of Carvers following there, so it's a great way to get it going.
It's very simple. The eggs are fake. I don't use real eggs because if they're hidden, I want people to mess with real eggs.
Find them later
so,
too. And
I buy these eggs at Walmart and Target, and I think Amazon has them. They're just little, I guess they're a plastic with like a paper coating on them.
Okay, yeah.
But you can actually dye them like you can regular Easter eggs. They have a steam on them. So I sit there and color them with magic marker and pencil and put a sealer on them, and a little note that says that, Danny Kissel Easter egg hunt and Kissel Studios, so that if somebody sees us hiding them, I don't want them thinking, hey, something crooked's going on over there.
Yeah.
And if they walk over, there's a name tag. They can see it's legit, and hopefully nobody takes them. But so far, nobody has gathered any beforehand. All the eggs have been found during the event.
Good for you. It must feel like Mission Impossible with all the things out, though. That's all I was envisioning. Like, dun, 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 dun.
Well, I had myself and my wife hid 5 eggs, I think, this year. Our oldest son hid 4 with his girlfriend. I had a girl I went to high school with and her husband. They hid 2 or 3. A buddy in West Reading, where I work a lot of the pumpkin events at, he hid the eggs for me there. I had a friend of my mom's hide eggs, and then I had my mom hide eggs and a buddy from work hide eggs. So
yeah.
But the way I do it, since they don't get to find the eggs, I make them custom eggs. Like if they say, hey, I want a Freddy Krueger egg, I make them a Freddy Krueger egg. Or I want Zelda, cool. I make a Zelda egg. But I think this year, so that they get to play in the fun, is I want to have an Easter egg hunt for the bunnies only. It could be somewhere. It could even be my yard. I could care less. But right. They all come and they get to find their own Easter eggs. They wouldn't be custom, but they would actually get to do the hunt as well. Because a lot of them enjoy hunting them. But like my friend Billy, she's found 4 so far. So we said, okay, why don't you start hiding them so other people get to play? Yeah. And of course, my mom, I'm not going to let her go find them because everybody would say, oh, it's rigged. Your mom found a cool one.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work to go into it for just to pay back to the community and the people who follow me and the people who buy my artwork and the ones that tolerate the constant Facebook posts of my artwork. It's a little gift like, hey,
I used to feel bad about that, but now I'm just like, you're gonna have to deal with me every day. If you want to leave, that's fine, but I will be in your face every day.
This weekend, April 30th and May 1st is what they call the halfway to Halloween. So I'm going to flood the internet with pumpkins.
That's awesome. I like that. I'll count down Halloween with you. Absolutely. What's your big tradition that's not pumpkin related for Halloween? Like, what do you like to do for it?
I used to love to get the kids dressed up. I like candy. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy watching horror movies. I like kind of following the typical stuff you do of, decorating and that kind of stuff. But I've been doing pumpkins now for 10 years. Our house is dark. There's no pumpkins decorated. There's nothing outside for Halloween. It's just, I'm not home.
Artist life right there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I redid our bathroom last summer and there's still not one piece of art on the wall. Like I got the bathroom pretty much done. I just have to order a curtain still. but it's just like, I completely gutted it. And like, it's still just like an empty shell still, I'm just like always moving on to the next thing. Cause like trying to balance life and, like you said, if you're traveling or you have obligations, those come first.
That's the toughest thing that nobody really talks about, and especially it's in all industries. But when you have a full-time job and you're an artist, you're at work thinking about the artwork you want to do later, so you're not really focused on anything at any given time. You're doing your artwork. You're trying to be, a husband. You're trying to help with dinner. You're trying to wash the dishes. You're trying to get the kids ready for bed. It's all that stuff goes in, and it's just a constant, juggling act of trying to spend equal time with everything.
Oh yeah, I'm super open about like the struggle for sure. Like I do a full-time job, and then I manage social media for 3 other companies. And then I am an artist myself. Like I bought a laser here. I still haven't turned it on. It's been here for 3 weeks because I've been so busy, like having to prioritize like what comes first, that I still haven't got my brand new laser up and running yet. Like it's just insane trying to balance it all.
And I have a 3D printer set in here that I go over and I use it when I need to. And I have ideas of things I can do with it and things I would like to print and just goofy stuff that doesn't really matter about anything. And just here it is.
Mm-hmm.
I use a lot of tool mock-ups on it. I'll make something and be like, hey, does this fit your hand? Does this work?
Right.
And I'll spend a little bit of time just getting the basics of it out, and I utilize it for that. But there's so many cool things I would like to make just to make.
Mm-hmm.
But you never have time. It's just one of those things that I'll get to it.
And when you do it, it feels selfish. At least for me, I'm like, I should be doing other stuff, but you know what? I need this for me right now.
Well, once your kids get older, that kind of goes away a little bit. But
Yeah,
the
good.
boys are the actually one that bought the printer for me.
Oh,
They're
that's
like, here, this will
awesome.
get dad something to do in his downtime. So that's
How old
what
are
I
your
do.
kids?
26 and 21.
Oh, that's beautiful. Mine are 6. It's gonna be a
I
long
can
time.
tell you a little bit of advice. Whatever problem you have right now, it doesn't matter what it is. It is nothing compared to the problems that are coming in the future.
Thanks. Thanks.
Our kids are like, if you have boys,
I
they
do. I have
do
twin boys. Yeah.
You can put a dollar value on the damage that happens in your household. Like you know exactly how much damage they caused as kids.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're waiting to replace our couch until they're like a little bit older, but the way it looks, it's so sad. Like I remember when we first got it, it was like, oh, look at this beautiful couch. And now it's just like all the creases, all the bends and dings. I'm just like, I just won't look at it.
And then you have soccer games on top of that, and baseball games, and
Karate.
the karate, and it's just
Yeah.
a constant. I got something to do every night now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you sit down for a home cooked meal, and it's like, wow, this is pretty sweet.
That is the one thing I do deliver every day after work. My priority is go upstairs and make something delicious. You know, like
My wife makes unbelievably great food.
Yeah.
I don't do much anymore. I used to a little bit, but she likes to carry on and say, if I do cook, I destroy the kitchen and I use every pot and pan and plate and fork that we have, and it's just destroyed.
I hope you
It's
at
usually
least,
good.
Peel the vegetables for her, You have
I am
experience
good at peeling
with that.
potatoes and stuff. I do know how to do that.
Yeah, see? I'd be like, here, do this.
And like hamburgers, something as simple as a hamburger. I love hamburgers.
Yeah.
She makes great hamburgers, but I'll make them, and she's like, hey, why don't you make them? And I'll spend an hour getting onion straws made, and I'll shave down fries and I'll fry them, and then and they're little shoestrings, so I'll fry them again and again until they get nice and crispy, and then finally the burger goes on. It's like a 3-hour ordeal to make burgers and fries.
How does a pumpkin carver prepare dinner? See, like though, that's a good reel for you if you're thinking about doing an Instagram reel. There you go.
And it is. I have stuff everywhere. Like I'll have 3 dishes set up to deep fry the onions and to slice them down and to get them covered and ready to go in the fryer, and the fryer's running. And then I got, French fries that I shave down to maybe 1/8 of an inch, so it'll look crispy straws when they're done. And
I love it.
Yeah, I only make it a couple times a year, but I'll destroy a kitchen.
That's a cool like special meal though. I always love that. Those meals that, it's going to make a huge mess. It's going to take forever, but the outcome is like,
I decided to make deep fried mac and cheese bites one time. I think I spent a Saturday like doing the macaroni and cheese and laying them out in a pan and getting them frozen so I could cut them and then dip them and bread them and then deep fry them. Yeah, I think I spent an entire Saturday making them.
And was the juice worth that squeeze?
Everything was great. They were good, but I only made them once.
Yeah.
It was too much work.
I was going to say never again.
But I do a lot of clay and mold making as well. So I had casted in silicone Legos. So I have a Lego mold about this big that when you put the blue base that you stack your Legos on, you fill it with Jello, and then you put that on, it actually gets the indents in the bottom of it. So you can take your Jello out and actually stack it like Legos. So I made them for our nephews a couple times, made them for ourselves just to play with. It's a massive amount of work just to fill it, stick it in the fridge, empty it, fill it, stick it back in the fridge, and
watch the kids destroy it in 5 minutes.
exactly.
Yeah. It's cool for just the wow factor of it, and just for that memory though. I love doing that kind of stuff. Like when I had more time, I used to be a cake decorator, and my kids are now getting into that. Like that, of course, that show Is It Cake?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that's so cool. I'm like, mommy knows how to do that. I'm like, oh no. I told them. So then like they made me come and like unveil my old cake decorating equipment and stuff. And I'm like, oh no, they see all the cake pans. It's over. So hence
Well,
yeah, I'll be
what's funny
decorating soon.
with me doing what I'm doing, the people that are on those TV shows, I know most of them. I'm friends with those people.
That's cool.
And it's funny to see, and like a new show comes out and you go right on like, who do I know? And you message them right away like, hey, I see you on TV, you know, I'm going to be rooting for you and all this. And I make one cake a year for our son, the 21-year-old Kyle, every year from, I think the time he was 6 or 7, he decided he wanted a custom cake. And I can tell you the cake artists do not charge enough money for their cake, because it is a massive achievement.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I made him a cake for his 21st birthday, which was just this past August, that looked like a beer barrel at the bottom, like a wooden beer barrel.
Mhm.
And then my wife made some, I don't know, white looking cream, ice cream looking stuff on top of it. And then I used fondant up a wooden skewer and then put a beer on top of it. So it looked like it was dumping and foaming out over top of the, typical 21-year-old cake.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's an HVAC guy. So I made a voltmeter and a bunch of nuts and rivets and stuff and laid it out like an HVAC.
That's great.
He was into golf. He's still into golf. I made him a golfing cake. When Pokemon came out with I think it was Pokemon Snap or Pokemon Go, when they were chasing them around the world and everybody's trying to.
Snap is the game, the video game to take photos. I know all this now. Yeah.
I made him a Snorax, and I thought it'd be simple, easy to do, and it was not.
No.
It turned out cool when it was done, but I'm no professional cake decorator. We can get that out of the way.
Oh, I've done it. It's a lot of work, and that's why I don't do it anymore. I switched to wood carving. That's what I was doing before I started carving wood. Is like I have to, like when I had my kids, I still had like a couple orders, and I was like, there's no way. Like I can't have twin kids like just and try to manage like making cakes for people. Done. So
that's a lot of work.
yeah, I switched to carved signs because that you can make fit your life. You know what I mean? Like there's not like you have your deadline, but you can make it in advance and work towards it. Where cake, you have to make it right then and there, and it has to be done.
Exactly. And my wife takes care of all the baking of it. So it's laid out a day before. She's like, what colors do we got to get? What do we have to make? What are we doing? And I'm an artist, so I have no idea. It's like a day ahead of time. That's way too far to plan. We'll figure it out tomorrow. And that happens a lot, but she does all the cake work and get everything ready. And now the oldest boy likes ice cream cake, so he gets an ice cream cake. So I don't make him one, but
that's what I usually get too. I get the Carvel football ice cream cake because my
the week
birthday's
before
right
Christmas.
near.
I usually get Christmas cake.
There you go. Well, mine's right before the Super Bowl, so like I always used to get that because my birthday would like land like right near Super Bowl Sunday. So it's that perfect, delicious, crunchy ice cream cake. Beautiful. It sounds like your wife's a really good partner, though. She supports your carving. That's really cool.
I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff I do without her. I like to carry on with her, and she'll walk out and she'll look at something and go, no, that's not what you're going for. Like that ain't right. And it's like, well, I was kind of happy with this till you said something. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, she is right. And then you start tweaking a little bit, and you got your sabers out trying to adjust the nose a little bit and trying to push the eyes back and do this and that. And she'll come down and be like, hey, your pumpkin looks great, but it does not look like the person it's supposed to be. So, so she helps drive me to get like, okay, she's looking at from a distance and this is what she's seeing. But last week at the Shippensburg, Central Pennsylvania chainsaw carving thing that 30 or 40 of us are at was my first real getting back into wood carving for the season. And she come home and she's like, great, house smells like pine. So It smells like pine
Delicious.
for a couple months, and then it'll turn to a pumpkin smell for a couple months, and then I'm tracking water in the house from snow, and I got all my clothes hanging up and drying in the air, and fans blowing everything.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Again, with all the different carving you do, like you are a man of the weather. You really have to be with the career path you've taken.
We carry on, and a lot of my friends call me a seasonal artist, and it sticks.
Yeah, you are.
But people ask me about wood, and they're like, "Hey, what's your schedule like?" And I said, "We only got like 3 months. Like July and August, it's too hot. I can't stand being out in the sun and the 100 degrees and the sawdust sticking to me and irritating my skin, and I'm just okay. I'm out. So I try to get
carve
everything
indoors.
done. That
I
would be a lot
do.
nicer.
I do. I just carve in my garage and make a huge mess. I can't be bothered outside.
Well, I just built a garage, so I don't want to get it dirty yet. So all my
Yeah.
dirty work happens outside.
Yeah, I get it. But yeah,
But
because
yeah,
it's
seasonal stuff.
seasonal. Yeah, that's cool though. It makes you always looking forward to it. Like the seasons are heightened for you. All the holidays are heightened for you because you celebrate them with your craft. That's neat.
Exactly. And it does. Christmas time, I'm one of the few people who loves wrapping Christmas gifts. Like I'll spend hours down here in my room at the table, and I get out every different possible cutting tool you can get. I crimp the edges. I roll a roller over them to make sure they're nice and crisp, and I put bows and ribbons around it. And I may wrap gifts over like a weekend. I may wrap all the gifts in one weekend, and I'm down here for like 16, 20 hours just
Yeah.
wrapping gifts. And I got Christmas movies playing, and I like Christmas horror movies. I like Christmas goofy movies, Christmas Vacation, that kind of stuff. But I have them playing, and I'm wrapping Christmas gifts. Now, there'll be times where I'm doing more like this, watching television, than I am wrapping the gifts, but it's all good.
Yeah. Do you have like a ritual of movies that you watch for each season? Like for me, I always love starting off with Halloween, like the original classic 1978 Halloween for like Halloween, and then I kind of like will watch a trilogy. I'll pick something, or do you have that kind of ritual as well?
I watch horror movies probably at least one every week throughout the year, just because I really enjoy them.
Same. Yeah.
Kyle, our youngest son, he likes horror movies now. So like the Saw series, we went and saw the movie. He went and seen a couple other ones with me. Our oldest son likes them, but not nearly as much as we do. So like Halloween, I'm usually busy. So whatever movies are out at the movie theater, if I'm carving with a few of my friends that like movies, we'll try to go to the movies, carve till 8 o'clock at night, go to the movies till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, crash at the hotel for a couple hours, and then go back and do it all again the next day.
Sounds fun.
Halloween night at midnight, I try to watch Nightmare Before Christmas, because it follows the timeline that Halloween is over. We have 364 days to plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I try to watch that around there. Usually the kickoff for, we'll say, pumpkin season is the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Okay.
I'll sit there and I can't sing whatsoever, but I will sing along with the movie as it's playing. And that's when I'm getting the tools ready and that kind of stuff. The whole month of December is Christmas Vacation and Christmas of the Cranks and Krampus. There's a 2016 Krampus.
Krampus is so good. There's
like 35 of them, but this year's the one that has the gingerbread men flying through the air.
Okay, because
that's my favorite one.
Tell me they did not plant like the sound of the gremlins as the gingerbread men's voices. Because like if you just listen to it, it's like hee 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 hee, and I'm like, it's freaking gremlins. Oh, what a flashback. Yes.
And that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yes.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Silent Night, Deadly Night's one that I like. Santa Claus Kills a Bunch of People. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How can't that be cool?
All the classics.
So around Valentine's Day, My Bloody Valentine, I try to watch movies that are related to whatever horror thing.
Yeah.
There's a couple around July 4th that's around Independence Day. There's a couple horror movies for that. I watched a really cheesy Thanksgiving Turkey, I think it was called. Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah.
Very, very cheesy. Very, very cheesy. But it was a Thanksgiving one, so hey, let's do it.
Yeah, I figured you were kind of like me, where the movies kind of inspire your life and they inspire your art. So it's like a cool trigger each season to kind of get you into that mode, get your creative juices going again for that.
Exactly. Now, when the kids were little, I watched Out Cold in the Winter. It was a snowboarding movie. All three of us snowboard.
Oh yeah.
So
a young
that was
Zach
usually
Galifianakis.
Exactly. That was right after Thanksgiving. We started watching that, and the boys are like, "Dad, like, dude, we've seen that like 60 times. Like, we're watching it again." And the old ski school movies, they happen about the beginning of December,
Mhm.
So I'm getting into my ice carving season, and that's the movies I'm playing and getting ready. And
I
then
hope like
there's
Better
always
Off
horror
Dead
movies.
makes it in there too.
Oh yes, definitely Better Off Dead's
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah. It's a good skiing movie.
And so there's another one too, Ski Patrol, I think,
Yes, Ski
is another
Patrol.
good one from the
Yes.
80s.
They have some great windbreakers and stuff in that. Yes, very classy.
They look like the 80s. That's how I grew up. That's what I look like.
Mm-hmm. I'm 40. I remember all these things. I mean, I get it.
Well, in the 80s, I had, well, up until the 90s even, I had hair that was down the center of my back, and it was, lighter than it is now. I guess through getting older, it just turned darker. It used to be kind of a dirty blonde color. And that was what I looked like all the time. I had neon green shorts on with tiger stripes and pink shirts, and that was the 80s. That's how we all looked.
Yeah. I was probably a little younger, but I totally know what you mean. And we had those terrible little plastic things that you put your t-shirt through, so you have the little knot in the front. Oh
Yep.
yeah, super classy. Super classy.
Well, my hair was really long in, we'll say, 87, 88. And the little ponytail on top of your head that girls do, I think I invented that. Like, I was goofing around in class and was like, check it out.
Oh yeah. So you're saying you're an influencer and a style maker. I got it.
Exactly. Since way before social media was around.
Yes. You started young. I'm curious, how did you find out about Saburrtooth? Like when you started carving, was it recommended to you or did you like do research?
When I go to an event and I'm new to something, when I was new to pumpkins, when I was new to ice, whatever event that was, if I see something on television, there's a show for it. And of course, when I get into wood carving, the Saw Dogs was the first show I ran
Yeah,
across.
so
And I seen
Ryan.
Chris Wolf and Ryan, Chris Foltz and Ryan and Jeff Samodowski and all the guys that were the ones that really inspired me to do wood carving. I would pause it and it's like, what's this green thing they're using? Or what's this, a different tool, the different chainsaws they're using, the dime tips, the quarter tips. I just watched it and DVR'd and just over and over and over again. And then we actually saw the chainsaw people down in Tennessee, and I was able to kind of do one of these tools. While we're talking about wood carvings, I was like, oh, what's that there? And I started taking pictures of it. And social media has helped with, going to chainsaw carving groups. Hey, what's this picture of? When I started airbrushing, we didn't have that. There was nobody around to guide you. Nobody wanted to help you because they were afraid you were going to steal their work.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world now. Everybody's like, oh, this is exactly what it is.
About that all the time. It's so interesting because my mother always taught me, you don't share too much, stop sharing too much. People are going to start doing what you're doing. Like when she first saw me starting to share on Instagram, because I share my complete process. And then I answer questions. And my mom was constantly like, don't do that. I'm like, Ma, you don't even understand. Like, that's what we do nowadays. We all support each other.
Yeah.
And there's enough out there like that we're not competing. We're just making each other better. It's interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I started asking people at these events and I started messaging people, and Saburrtooth's name just kept coming up over and over again. So the first thing I bought was the round disc.
Yeah.
The 4-inch round disc on my grinder. That was the first thing I'd used. 2012, I bought that. I was like, yeah, I'm going to give this a shot. And I used it. And the first night I was using it, it was really, really laying the dust out and was really making everything smooth. And it's like, I wonder what I could do with this one here. And it was that following year I did ice carving with a guy, and he had one of the, the like 4-inch cylinders, and it's throwing snow everywhere. And it was just cool. Like, oh, I got to give me one now. And then, like you said, after that, your arsenal just builds. I have a lot of the 1/8-inch ones now, the 1/8-inch shanks.
Yeah.
I'll use on foam pumpkins. Occasionally I'll use them on the real pumpkins, but they tend to burr up on the real pumpkins a little bit, but the foam works great.
I was
do use them on
curious
clay.
how they work on actual pumpkins. Like
the fibers of pumpkins are so soft.
Yeah.
When you think about a pumpkin growing versus a tree growing, the softwood is on the outside of the tree and it gets harder as it gets inside. It's exact opposite with pumpkin.
Right.
The very surface face of it is nice and hard, and then until you get into the side, that's where you get the graininess, and that's where you're trying to use a tool. So they fling a lot. You really can't there's nothing competes with a knife. Even the clay tools doesn't compete with a knife for making a nice crisp edge underneath an eyelid, the side of the nostrils right here, or between the teeth, or any of that. There's nothing compares with a knife. But it's cool to, when you're doing, you know, a 300 or 400 pound pumpkin and you're doing it for an event, it's fun to break out a chainsaw. It's fun to break out a die grinder and just kind of and spray the crowd just to, you know,
you've become a
get them involved.
showman over the years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when I started going to the ice circuits is where I really started noticing people using them. And then with wood, you see, usually there's a cage there, you know, you're not right up on top of them, so you can't really get too close. So you got to kind of peek around and look at the tools. But once I started knowing people, like I said, I talk to them all the time and, hey, what's this tool? What's that tool? And then, like you said, helping each other out. Ryan, an amazing wood carver, he's like, hey, can you teach me how to do pumpkins? So we did a Facebook, or not a Facebook,
FaceTime.
Yeah, a FaceTime. We did a FaceTime and I showed him the tools and like, here's what it is. And this is how you use the tools. And he was like, I'm going on British Columbia TV tomorrow. Like, I need a crash course tonight. So he learned the night before he was going to the show how to use some of the tools.
That's
and
so cool.
he messaged me the next day. It's like, this is great. And then I started helping other wood carvers that were doing it. And it's paying it back for all the years that they answered my wood carving questions. And, hey, what's that tool there? Or what's this? But that's really how I found Saburrtooth, was just seeing pictures of it and kind of asking people. And now I'm the one pushing them out and saying, hey, this is what you need. Like, this is the tool to do this.
Right. Once you use them, it's hard not to share like how amazing they are. Like, I've gone through all the different tools to get to them. And yeah, once you find them, nothing else compares.
Well, I'll catch myself when I'm doing a show like in West Reading and we try to knock them out every hour. And the crowd's there and there's a big crowd and they're oohing and ahhing. And I'll spend a little bit more time kind of position it. So one of my favorite ones is the green one. I'll hit it and it just chews snow and it'll shoot it right towards them. And you'll see little kids laughing and giggling.
Like,
and I'm spending a little too much time, but I'm becoming a showman and hopefully inspiring some young kid to, I want to do that when I get older.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you that because I know we're running like low on time, but like somebody who wants to just get started in this and say they want to start doing ice carvings or pumpkin carvings in their area, how do you recommend they start getting the word out there that they're available?
I tell everybody to try to post it on Facebook or any kind of social media page, like here's I am. But if you go and look, a lot of grocery stores will have flyers up, like there's a downtown fall festival in your local town or the next town over. Everybody's looking for somebody to come in at a very low price to be able to just get some kind of demo work. Right. And a lot of the shows in the beginning, that's what I did. I went out and I did some demo work. I set up in town. I drug every tool I had. It seemed like it was a waste of time because I'm getting $100 for setting up and I'm spending $80 in gas and tools to get there.
Right.
But that's where it starts. That's the easiest thing. But that is also, and nobody really talks about it, is also the best way to learn too. To have that kind of pressure of like, okay, I got to do this and this has to work out. And the only way you're going to get better is to keep practicing. It's hard to go out in the yard and do any kind of, you know, just pushing of yourself or having a family member tell you, hey, you need to go get this done. It helps to be able to go, okay, I have an event, I have to get ready. So it pushes you into that realm
some kind of deadline pending.
Yes, let's do this.
Yeah.
We're all artists. We all get that deadline this big and we do all the work in this end.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
But that's the easiest way to get somebody new out there. And then people that want to hone their skills, YouTube. There's a lot more than cat videos on YouTube. You can go out there and actually know what, you know, people doing everything. And there's a lot of how to make a bear. There's a lot of how to make a tree. There's a lot of different tools like that. And going to events like Shippensburg here, we just did the event. There was carvers there. We all shared information. We had an auction at the end. People are coming by and talking to you like, hey, how do you do this? What do you do here? And just constantly pushing you to be a better, you know, artist all around with what you're doing. And then with me, they're all related. So I can kind of take one from to another.
I was gonna say, are there any events that you're going to be doing or that you know of that you want to talk about for anybody who might want to attend?
The new one that I want to kind of push is Shippensburg. My local town where I graduated, went to high school at. We're going to do a pumpkin festival this year. And it's the first time there's been any kind of pumpkin festival this scale in the area of within 200 miles of where we're at. I do one in Pittsburgh that's probably one of the biggest ones in the nation.
Oh,
But
cool.
this one here will be the biggest one in, Baltimore, Hagerstown, Harrisburg area. And it's going to have at least 4 or 5 big, 500 or 1,000-pound pumpkins. I'm bringing in artists from all over the nation to come and help me. We're going to have, 40 or 50, 150-pound pumpkins that are going to be displayed. So it's going to be the largest thing in the area for people to come see. And that's the event that I'm really focused on this year because it's new.
What
You have to
what
kinda-
dates are those? Is it going to be heading out?
That is the 21st and 22nd of October.
Awesome.
It's a Friday, Saturday type thing. And it's like anything else. You really have to nurse it and grow it as a kid to get people to come in, and hopefully it does good enough that they want to do it again, and it grows every year and it gets bigger and you're bringing more people in. I'm bringing my buddy Dean from Washington State into it. I'm bringing in a guy from North Carolina, and I'm trying to find a couple other people here that I'm going to have come in from different areas to really get something out there for everybody. It'll be people who specialize in fruit, vegetables, whatever, so they can see a little bit of a variety of everything. But that is the one show that I really want to push this year just because it's new. But it seems like once you do a town, that town always wants you back, and they want to go bigger next year. They want more and more. And you're getting to the point where it's hard to fill the orders of what's required because you're only 30 days and, 31 days in October. 30 of them days
can only
you're
squeeze
swamped.
so much in on. I was like, your scheduling has to be insane, and trying like to balance life with it and all
And it is.
that.
My iPad goes
Yeah.
off all the time telling me, hey, this is what to do tomorrow. This is what you have to do now. And then doing that on top of a full-time job and trying to make everything as big and bright as it can be. 2 years ago during COVID, there really wasn't a lot of pumpkins to be distributed because there wasn't a lot of events going on. So we were able to hog them all. We did an event in Pittsburgh and we had 21,000 pounds worth of pumpkin on stages.
Wow.
So if you look at my Facebook or Instagram or website or whatever, we're about this big and a photo this long of all just walls of 1,000-pound pumpkins. And there was 4 of us did that. And it was an amazing time. And it was the biggest thing of pumpkin wise that there was. There wasn't anywhere around it that much weight of pumpkin in one event.
I'm going to have to come down sometime and see this kind of stuff, man. Like, I'll keep
Pittsburgh
my
is
eye-
always the 3rd week of October. It runs all week and it's amazing.
That's cool. Are you going to be attending any events that are going to be traveling around that people should be looking for?
When my season starts out, I'll be in Pennsylvania, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania in the beginning. I leave the 2nd week for Hamilton, Ohio, and then Pittsburgh, and then West Reading, and then Shippensburg, and then I have a couple events the last week. I think one of them's in Baltimore. So generally East Coast type stuff.
Coast, yeah.
I'm doing a sand event in Denver this year. That's Labor Day weekend. I'm doing a sand event in Ohio the beginning of June.
Yeah, so you're gonna be out there. Well, that's cool. I can't
I'm
wait
always
to watch.
somewhere.
Yeah. That's great. Well, thank
And then
you
December
for
starts
coming.
ice carving, and I'll be in the reindeer farm in Kentucky the first week of December. And then
the
it just
reindeer
turns into a
farm?
blur of, it's awesome. They have a sleigh and they bring Santa Claus in, and I got to walk around with Rudolph last year, so he put in some good words for me with Santa to make sure, Christmas was good for me.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a lot to juggle. And so you're doing construction full time with all of this?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I currently work full time, and then I have the 3 jobs, and then I take on this too, because I'm totally like ready to get rid of that job because I'm like, I want to be free to be able to go to an event if they ask. Like, the Food Network reached out to me last year or the year before to do pumpkin carving on their show, and I was just like, I don't even have time to practice to pumpkin carve. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way I'm going to go on a show and do it in front of people if I don't have time to put the hours in advance and learn some technique. But if I do get into it, I know whose tools I'm coming for, by the way.
Outrageous Pumpkins actually seeks out chainsaw artists now because I won season 1. Ryan Anderson won season 2.
Mhm.
We don't know who won season 3, but we had Griffin Ramsey on our show with us. She's a chainsaw girl. So we had the chainsaw community of ice and wood recognized in pumpkins. So they kind of are searching them out now a little bit,
That's
to at least try to
awesome.
get one person in there.
Yeah. I mean, I was freaking flattered. Like two people from Food Network reached out to me and I'm like, oh, I really want to do this, but like, I just couldn't. Like, what I'm doing right now. I'm working too many jobs at once. So I was just like,
And I will tell you, if you do it, it is an unreal amount of time spent. It's first thing in the morning, you're to set. You do your preps, you get ready, like, okay, this is where you walk in, this is how you do this, the judge is going to come here. You walk through all those motions so it looks flawless on television, and then you go sit down and you wait. And then they do the same thing with the judges. They keep you separated so you don't know who the judges are. And then after a while, you get lunch and you're separate from your lunch. And then you finally, okay, let's do a 3-hour challenge. And you go knock it out and you get to meet the judges for the first time. And then you explain what you did. And then you go back and you wait for them to critique it. Then you go back and hear it. And it's just a long day of just constant something's going on.
I bet.
And I tell people, you got to be ready. You have to be focused and you have to have your mindset ready to roll.
Right. Exactly. That's why I said no, but not a definite no. Like future, yes. But I was like,
and I've done it 3 times now. I'll do it anytime they call. I'll make a way to make it work.
You've got the experience now.
Well, I truly like seeing the behind the scenes. When you see a movie and you see how it goes together, it's cool. You see a television show, it's cool. You don't get to see like, okay, every time you move, there's a camera guy right here. And you can actually hear the disc spinning like, okay, he's zooming in there. And you go to jump off your bucket where you're carving at and you move and you hit a camera guy. Or there's so much. There's a boom microphone. I was working on a 7-foot tall Frankenstein and I stood up a little bit and I ran into the boom microphone. It's like, there you are.
There's probably so many ridiculous like takes from just various sets like that. You know what I mean? Just like,
well, the very first time I did Halloween Wars, they're like, okay, you're going to run up and get your pumpkin. Well, the cameras are in the way for where you go. So they're like, okay, you guys just stand back. So I'm standing there relaxing, like, we're talking to buddy John. It's like, and I noticed the clock's still ticking. It's like, whoa, wait, like we got a 3-hour challenge and we're 10 minutes in yet and I haven't got a pumpkin. And they're like, well, yeah, we gotta wait for the cameras to move so that you can run to get your pumpkin. So you're standing there like a racehorse, like let's do this. And then finally they part ways and you go to your pumpkin. So your adrenaline's running something fierce because you didn't get to do exactly what you thought you were going to get to do right off the bat.
I was going to say, oh my, the anxiety. I'd be just sitting there staring at the clock, like trying not to, but like, are they going to reset that? Like, you know what I mean? Like
one of the camera guys that I met the very first time told me, he said, just go in like you do anything else, clear your mind. There's no cameras here. Do this. He said, you're already a star. You're already here. You're already going to be known for being on the show. Don't look special. Don't look like you don't know what you're doing. Don't look like you have no clue. He said, make it look like you know what you're doing. He said, even if you don't,
feel confident. Yeah.
Make it look like you do it and have confidence when you're doing it. And I kind of took that with me to all the shows. And there's a lot of times I'm working. It's like, and deep inside, I'm like, ain't no way this is going to work. Ain't no way. This.
That's so funny. I like that you've embraced it though, and you've become the showman, and like now you have like your little tips and tricks that is gonna excite a crowd. Like that's such a fun learned skill,
It is. It's one of the things you can kind of take the new guy or girl with you and be like, hey, look, this is what's going to happen out here, and this is what you got to do, and clear your head. And I've seen your work, and you try to build their confidence up because you do want everybody to look good. You want everybody to see. The last thing you want something to do is somebody crashing and burning and going home and being upset right off the bat. So it is fun to do. It's fun to help each other, and they want you to look like on television like you really want to beat this guy, but you don't see like behind the scenes. You're like, hey man, the next time you do that, try doing it this way. It'll save you a lot of time, and you try to help them grow along.
Yeah.
And there's friendships I built 8 years ago, 10 years ago that I still talk to them every week. And the brief little window that you get to work with each other, it's amazing. There's a guy named Ray Brown that was on the first show that kind of took me under his wing and said, hey man, just relax. And I still talk to him all the time.
That's great. I love hearing that. You do see on the show how attached people get to each other throughout the competitions. And like by the end, as people get eliminated, you could just see like they're losing somebody like they love. You're like, no.
Exactly. You're like, oh. And even our wood carving event we just had in Shippensburg, I saw guys from North Carolina that I only see once a year. And you get in early and you go up and you give them hugs and you're like, hey, man, it's great to see you. And you stand around, you talk as much as you can, you get excited, and then you go work and then you hang out and you do it. And then 3 days later, it's like, oh, I guess I'll see you. Like, don't forget me.
I love it though. Like it's such a nice, tight artist group. And I find that the people that we find either online or like for competitions, they end up replacing those people that were already in your life before you started getting into this, because
Exactly.
they know you, they relate to your struggle, they relate to your hustle. And it's just nice to be on that same level with somebody else.
And to go out and do it and explain to somebody who's watching you on television about the struggle you had that day. And there's like days that I've been furious. Like I was ready to smash everything around me because stuff wasn't working, stuff wasn't going the way it was supposed to go. I was just upset with everything. I wasn't getting along with my team at the time, all that one day. And the next day you're best of friends and the days passed and today's working and you talk to them afterwards. You're like, wow, that was, wow.
We're artists. We're emotional beings. We can't help it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
it's fun to be able to share. Like,
yeah.
I love my family. My family's always there for me, but they don't always understand the struggle that I'm having trying to make something work the way I want it to work. And you get that from another wood carver, an ice carver. Even like I said in the beginning, when I was using Saburrtooth, it's like, how do I use this? What do I do? And the guy's like, well, hold it this way here, and this is what you do. And they understand that struggle that we're having, and that's where it becomes more of a family than a competitor or something.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, thank you for joining me. Thank you for helping build the carver community, because the big reason I approached Jody for this show is I ran a maker podcast for a year and a half before this, and really felt like the maker community was really tight knit and we were getting really strong. But I noticed a severe lacking of carvers in that community. So I really want to build up the carver community so they can know each other. And like you said, now people know, like, you've got a lot of experience. You don't mind sharing tips and tricks. Like it's very cool to know that about people that you see on TV,
And that is the fun thing of it. I mean, doing a show, yeah, there's prize money, there's this, there's that. It's the bond that you build of somebody in the middle of the night. Hey, man, this ain't working. How do I do this? And they're there to walk you through the steps. That's the best part of this. I mean, people talk about seeing new towns, but you don't see a new town. I don't care what anybody says. You roll into the town, you carve, you go, you don't see anything.
You try a few restaurants.
Yeah, that's it. You talk about hey, I had really good food, or this hotel is really nice. And, that's the extent of it.
Yeah.
And it's that sense of community and family that really attracted me to what I'm doing. And I don't think you guys understand how excited I was when I got the little message like, hey, do you want to do a podcast for Saburrtooth? It's like, there's people way better than I am, but yeah, let's do this. Like I was excited. Yeah. Like, yeah,
dude,
let's see how it goes.
Excited. No, I'm very excited. So when just so you know, obviously this is the first 8 episodes that I'm recording right now. You are my second artist to interview. Like you were very high on Jody's in my list to get
I am
you
very
on
impressed.
Here. So yeah.
Thank you, Jody. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. No, you were one of the first names she flung out. And I was just like, yeah, that would be so fun. Like she was describing everything. And I'm like, yep. So no, we're
I'm all over the place. That's what people like.
Yeah. It's fun. Things change up constantly with you. It's really cool.
It's neat to see the people that I watched on television the first time, like Ryan, to have Ryan call me and be like, hey man, like, how do I do this? Or, if he wasn't in Canada, I'm sure we'd hang out. To talk to Chris Foltz is one of the...
fangirled over him the other day because he and I were on the phone planning out when we were going to do a podcast. And I'm like, I'm just hanging out with Ryan, planning his podcast. It's fine. It's fine. I watched him on those shows as well. So I'm like, this is cool. This is my life now.
I was in Ridgeway, Pennsylvania years ago, and then Butler, I think, and I ran into Jeff Samodowski, and I was like, and I hope I pronounce his name right, and if I don't, I'm sorry. But
I'm terrible at it too. It's okay.
But I saw him on Saw Dogs, and he had made some cool pieces. He did some horses, and they were amazing looking. It was done. It's like, wow, like I want to be as good as that guy someday.
Right.
And I met him at a show, and he's like, wait, you're Danny Kissel, right? Like, I know who you are. And that was like, I'm kind of impressed. Like,
You're like, all right, okay.
yeah, the first time I had dinner with one of the guys I saw on television, I was giggling like I just watched him on television. Like,
yeah. It's like, what is my life? This is great. This is so cool.
And each one of the things I do, there's different people that I really look up to. And Chris Foltz is one of them for ice and wood that I really look up to. And my buddy Dean's a pumpkin carver that I look up to. And he was on the original Outrageous Pumpkins. And he's like, I'm the one that showed Chris how to do ice. Like, why don't you come carve ice with me? And it's like, wow, let's do this. And
sure.
So they were the people that I really looked up to. Like, wow, I want to carve wood like that, or I want to carve ice like that, or I want to do pumpkins like this. And if you're a pumpkin carver, you know who Ray Villafane is. And I've actually talked to Ray now on multiple occasions, and just called and hung out and just, hey man, what's up? And it's wild to you see these people and these personalities that you think, well, he'll never talk to me, and all of a sudden they're showing you this is how you hold the tool. And that's the great thing about this.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can do that for other people.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you. And I'm sure we are going to be talking more throughout the years. So which is really cool, just hanging out with you for an hour and getting to
exactly. And an hour flew by. It's like an hour and 10 minutes flew by pretty quick.
I know. I was like, I think we could talk all night. And then like, but you have so much
like to talk.
share.
People say that.
No, I do too. Hence why the podcast. I totally, yeah.
Well, but I'm very stoked that you called to reach out to me to do it. It's been amazing. It's been a wild ride that I never thought I'd be part of. And here we are.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you hanging out and participating with this. And
thanks. It was awesome. And I'm really glad I got to meet you.
Me too. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.
See ya.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed getting to hang out and meet Danny. He was a ton of fun, and I personally really enjoyed it. So we want to let you know about a few things that are happening. In June, on the 18th, there is Sawdust Fest, and that's at Miller's Rustic Sawmill, and that is going to be a really fun show. And another event that we want to highlight is the AAW 36th Annual International Woodturning Symposium. That's in Chattanooga, Tennessee from June 23rd to 26th. So go check that out. We also just wanted to let you guys know that, in October, we'll be at the Catskills Maker Camp, myself and Sadie from the Awesome Orange, and we're hoping to be going to Workbench Con as well very soon. So we're going to be popping around places, but we want to know what events are happening near you. So if you want to have us highlight those, just send us an email. You can email Jody LePage at Saburrtooth, or you can just DM us and we'll make sure we add it to our roster. Thanks again for listening, and if you want to hear more from me, check out Maker Conversations. That's on all listening devices and on YouTube, as well as follow me on Night Carver Designs. A huge thank you to Saburrtooth for this opportunity to do the show. If you want to start carving, use our show code EM2CO in all caps to save 10%. And then don't forget to head over to saburrtooth.com and sign up for the mail list, because there is that once a month 25% off your entire order. So you're not going to want to miss that. And we just want to say thank you again for listening. I hope you're all having fun out there and keep on carving.